Warning, this podcast contains spoilers. Warning, this podcast contains spoilers.
Scott Lang, you're an Avenger. But down here, you're out of your league.
King can shatter timelines.
Everything you call a life will end.
And you're not getting out. I don't have to win. We both just have to lose.
Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania.
Hello. This is Adolf, and I have with me Classic Jake.
Howdy, folks.
And today we're doing a spoiler cast for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. As always, we'll talk about the 3D aspect first. So, Jake, how was the 3D for you?
Meh.
How did you watch this movie?
I saw this at a Regal in 3D.
You didn't watch it in the Regal premium format, or no?
The premium formats were not 3D.
Ah, okay.
Like if I wanted to see it in IMAX, there was no 3D. If I wanted to see it in a 40X, it was not in 3D.
All right. I watched in IMAX 3D, and in my review, which I don't think you've read yet, right?
Oh, I have not read it yet because I wanted to not be spoiled in my thoughts.
The best word I put in the review was adequate.
To me, it looked unfinished. I was stunned at how many times the far backgrounds were completely flat. There was no attempt of any depth whatsoever in all this cloudiness in the quantum realm.
Yep.
And how many times the foreground looked like cardboard just sticking. It was like it was half done.
I wouldn't go that far as half done, but I definitely agree with you. And I said in my review, this is probably the worst 3D we've had from Marvel in like 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And
go back I mean, we didn't have to go back to phase 1.
Oh boy. There's so many times where I was like, this should be better. And this is the kind of movie where you want things, like you expect it to be better. And yeah, it's just so flat. It's so unbelievably flat.
About every 10 minutes because it would start reading completely flat. And I'd have to readjust my eyes. That is not good.
I mean, it has its moments. I did mention in the review, there's a couple times where they're falling, and when they're falling down, you get good depth there, and it works. That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple guns that pop out. I mentioned that this one critter or creature, being, I don't know what the hell it is, but it tried to bite the characters, and like its mouth was like popping out and trying to bite you. Did you catch that?
No, it was flat.
Okay, maybe that was from my experience, but
yeah, but but you have to remember, Regal's not renowned for their presentation, and I live with Regal Monopoly.
But yeah, that was a scene right as they were trying to escape after they met Bill Murray.
Mm-hmm.
And they had everyone was attacking each other, and then they had this creature that tried to bite him. And then his like snout was popping out.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a couple of times where they like look out into the vastness of the microverse or the whatever quantum realm, and you're like, yeah, this should be really deep, and it's not.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It also should be moving, and it wasn't.
And there's a couple of scenes where like they're walking around in the like I don't know, some kind of forest or something, or I guess that's a forest for that kind of scale. And it had some layers of 3D, but it was like 2 or 3, and it really should have been like 10 or 12 because how dense of a kind of foliage there was there and how many things there were there. But it really felt like they just had the 3D for the stuff that was in front of the camera, and that was just a little bit it, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Like even in San Francisco, like when he's just walking, it's just like, okay, that's just okay. A couple layers of 3D, but not a lot.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't know if you knew about this. I mentioned this in my review because I knew about this. This uses a newer method, in how they film the movie. I don't know if you were aware of this, called stagecraft.
Ah, the Mandalorian technique.
Yes. So they have, these big video walls there, and that way the people can see what they're interacting with. And in theory, that works great for TV shows and other 2D stuff, but for a 3D movie, you just see completely basic 3D, and if anything, it's just completely flat, like a painting almost.
What they should have done for the stagecraft is the backgrounds. They should have had those converted.
Yeah.
In advance. No, they didn't need to use them in the stagecraft, but had them converted so when they insert them into the film, they would have the depth there. But they didn't. It looks like they just used whatever the stagecraft and just because it was all the background, the very far backgrounds looked, and it made it look like this thing was filmed on a soundstage.
Oh yeah. Now I didn't really have a problem per se with the CGI. I guess in a way it seemed fine, but it never felt real. Like it felt like it was all fake.
Yeah, and it kind of worked to make it claustrophobic. It did make it feel like you are in a small environment, and it read that they were microscopic because of it. So in one way, yeah, it did work in its favor, but for 3D, it was really disappointing.
And it just never felt like organic or like this could exist. And I understand it's a sci-fi setting. It's okay. I could limit my, my mind and be like, okay, sure, let's go with it. But this one, I guess the flatness in the 3D really kind of, this is fake. This is fake. This is fake.
Yeah, and it was also pretty derivative, but that has nothing to do with the 3D.
It reminds me a lot of Strange World.
Oh, yeah, and Star Wars, and VeggieTales.
And it's a really dark movie. So darkly lit and 3D don't work well.
Yeah.
Any specific spoilery scenes that you want to mention the 3D for?
Nope. Because I don't really think that seeing this in 3D will improve the experience.
Yeah. I mean, I guess when you get to the first time you see Kang on screen, and it's helping, what's her name?
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, Janet Van Dyke. There was some decent separation there between the characters, and but it's still.
That is pancake.
There was like this scene that they keep showing in the trailers, where they're flying on top of this thing. I don't know what the hell it is, and they're like going on the side, and it's like a reflection or something. And you would think this would have so much depth. Nope, not at all. And there's just occasional gun here and there pops out, sure, but everything is dark. Like I understand the quantum realm is like way, way too small to get sunlight, but it's all dark. But it's like, well, how do you not?
Even better than A Wrinkle in Time's 3D.
So yeah, when I did my review, I hated it because it's been a long time. It's been a long time, Jake, but I had to give it week 3D, 2D recommended.
Yep. We're on the same page.
I hate using that. It's been like a couple years, I feel like, since we've used it. Seriously.
Earned it.
It's weak. It is a weak 3D presentation that is just barely there, and it's not horrible. I didn't get a headache. I didn't want to throw up or anything, but it definitely is weak. And it's like, okay, it just feels like it should be so much better, so much more depth, so much more pop out.
I'm rather pissed because to see this in 3D, I had to carpool and because I had to make a trip pretty much. I mean, we had to go over 100-mile round trip.
Woo!
Yeah. So I'm pissed.
And I saw this shit in IMAX, and I'm still like, nope.
I didn't even have an IMAX 3D option.
So yeah, I said that in my review. It's like, if you don't see this in IMAX, I imagine it's even worse of an experience. And it's funny. I mentioned this in my review, Jake, that I was like, okay, it's maybe the IMAX theater. Nope, IMAX was totally fine before this movie. I had no problems with any of the trailers. Everything looked bright and pretty. It looked like an IMAX theater. Okay. What about my eyes? Well, I actually just went to the eye doctor this week. She said that I have basically 20/20 vision with a very, very minor astigmatism, but it's essentially 20/20 vision. So it's not my eyes. It wasn't the theater, the movie. It just is weak. It's so weak and it's so flat. And this kind of movie would be great to have all these things floating around in space and having, these objects here and that over there just be different. It's like space. This microverse should have existed in that way where space looks so good in 3D because you could get the distances of stuff and really feel like you're there. And this made me feel like I wasn't there. Made me feel like this is a fake place. And
worried about the other Marvel movies, these later movies at the end of Chapek's reign, what their 3D is going to look like.
Yeah.
Because this was obviously a cost-cutting thing, and it looked horrible.
So yeah, I'm surprised and sad because this really is the weakest we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, this is. I mean, we have to go to Phase 1 for something that's this week.
So the trailer for Guardians 3, it looked fine. It looked good, maybe, but it didn't wow me either.
Yeah. The one that wowed me was Little Mermaid.
Yeah. I liked it a lot. It's just brighten that up. I want to have pretty.
Yeah, because the Russo brothers, who had awesome 3D in their movies, shoot dark, but they managed to backlight and made it pop, so it looked great in 3D. These corals that were dark in the Little Mermaid trailer, they popped. In fact, it was dumb showing that trailer before this because it just made Quantumania look all the worse.
Yeah. I do like it. Don't get me wrong. I do like it. I want to see bright, beautiful, colorful. I don't want to see this movie be super darkly lit, the whole movie. But the little bit I did see, I did like it a lot. So yeah, it's just so flat and so basic, and it's just like this is just like really this is kind of a Phase 1 kind of 3D, and we've seen so much better for such a long time. It's so hard to go see this.
Of New Worlds, I was expecting a 3-legged dog to show up.
Yeah. So yeah, you were in agreement then, weak 3D?
Yep. Yeah, just waste your money. If you got in a theater 2D, it's not worth the money.
If anything, you might like it more in 2D because you don't see how fake it looks.
Yeah.
So, okay. We're in agreement there. Let's get to the movie itself. So, Quantumania is the third Ant-Man movie, and I guess a very important movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe because it introduces us to Kang the Conqueror. And the movie starts off pretty simply. You get some narration from Paul Rudd about, I'm in a happy place in my life and everything's good. And how can you not love Paul Rudd in this? He's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is also the first trilogy to have a director replaced, and then yet the first one director finish his trilogy uninterrupted.
Yeah, and so they get sucked into the I think I keep saying microverse, but it's not. I mean, it's a quantum realm, and
Well, most everybody's calling it the microverse anyway, so it doesn't. So people know what you're saying.
Now, we've heard about the quantum realm multiple times in multiple movies, so I was actually really excited to have a whole movie or vast majority of the movie set in here.
Saw little intriguing tidbits of it that looked awesome. So I was looking forward to a whole movie of the quantum realm. I was looking forward to it.
Yep.
But all I got was New Worlds with a little Star Wars mixed in, and then a character straight out of VeggieTales.
You know, this reminded me a lot of the quote-unquote classic Flash Gordon movie from 1980, but without the awesome soundtrack of Queen.
Mm-hmm. Or the fun. Yeah, I mean, this movie was a lot grimmer than it should have been.
So I guess that's a issue I have with this movie, is that the tonal shifts here are just like, oh my God, seriously. You have super dark scene and then wacky fun comedy and then super dark sad scene, then wacky fun comedy. It's like, oh, it's jarring.
And the comedy undercut the drama instead of bracing you for it, and the comedy didn't land mostly. I mean, it had some good chuckles.
Yeah.
It had great performances, but had a lot of pacing issues. But the skeleton of the script was really good. There were a lot of great callbacks to stuff, but all the stuff in between just didn't work. I mean, the bones of the script were solid. It's just all the filler. There was so much filler in this. It's like they were having to shove everything from all the other parts of this movie was obviously meant to start off being the early parts of Phase 4, not start off Phase 5.
And so, you know, they get separated as you usually do in these kind of movies. I was happy there was ants that fell too, because I was worried that this movie would not have ants, and I'm very, very happy that there was ants.
So it was, but they didn't. Was one of those Anthony?
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, really, if they were going to do that much of a callback, they should have had Anthony show up.
And I like that he gave them like little tech, and they're learning how to use the tech on themselves. It's like, okay, cool, sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Wouldn't it be funny if how this whole Phase 5 ends is the ants take. You know, they're the ones who kick Kang's ass.
So, you know, they get separated as per usual, and they have to find each other. And Cassie, you know, she's trying to do good work, and, you know, she keeps getting herself in trouble and going to jail. And, you know, you know, I really connected with Cassie, and it's like, yeah. And they're mentioning the blip, and I was like, yes, thank you for mentioning the blip finally, after like so many other movies and TV shows that just barely scratched the surface of it.
That's why this movie, you can tell this movie was intended to be earlier in Phase 4, because that's one of the biggest problems Phase 4 had, is it didn't mention, I mean, it just ignored so much stuff. And I imagine a lot of that was because of COVID and James Gunn getting fired and just a whole bunch of other, and Bob Chapek and his cheapness, just a lot of crap. And I think a lot of it hurt this movie.
And so you do see that Janet knows what's going on, and there's like a drone that is gonna like try to scan the area, and they're like, we keep getting Hope, what's going on? And I keep like saying the same thing. What the hell is going on, movie? Tell me what's going on.
I got tired of it seems like half the dialogue at the first of this movie was like, hurry, I can't explain to you right now. And I'm like going, bitch, please. That's all you're supposed to do is explain. You're just dragging your feet out instead of propelling the story forward.
It was that frustrated me to no end, because like, give me more information, please. And they finally do. And the only information you get is either exposition dumps. You get like one scene that is a flashback, but like so much, I have so many follow-ups that's like, it should not have been explained at all because they got more follow-ups. And that doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Janet's been outside of this universe for a couple years now, I suppose, right? Since Ant-Man.
Well, no, she got snapped. So I mean, and the time, how time works, doesn't work in this movie because we don't know how long they were down there, how long, because we know that the time isn't equal. We know that. But this movie seemed to ignore that.
Yeah. I would have liked it if they would have come back up and you're like, where the hell are we? And when are we? And then it pops up, 2175 or something. And you're like, shit.
Or they went down in 2020, came up in 2025.
Sure, whatever. I was expecting that, and they're like, okay, no, okay, whatever.
Okay. And then, of course, you have Michelle Pfeiffer. How long was she down there, and how young was she when she went down there? And I mean, a movie's got a movie, but when you change things around and you don't explain things, it just creates more questions, the type of questions that need to be answered.
So, yeah, she was down there since the 80s. So she's down there for 30 years until Ant-Man and the Wasp when they got her out.
Yeah.
So I don't know how the hell she lived down there for that long. And then I kind of mentioned this in my written review. It feels like this was a 5-season TV show that was crammed into a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
Like, 1-2 seasons could be of Janet Van Dyne in the quantum realm, and you understand what's going on, and then you get introduction to Kang, and then you get, the Ant-Man movies could be another season, and
I felt sorry for a lot of the people in my audience, the dozen, not counting me, there were probably a dozen people, and my party, that, the three of us, because obviously they hadn't seen the other 2 Ant-Man movies. Obviously had not seen any of the TV shows. They were lost.
Yeah. And then, okay, so Paul Rudd, Scott, and Cassie, they find each other, and he rescues them from a sun, which is like, okay, I'm game. Sure, whatever the hell that happened, sure. I'm game for this weird stuff. I'm actually game. So I'm not the kind of person that's super conservative and like, it's too unrealistic. No, I love sci-fi. I love this kind of crazy shit. And I was like, I'm not into this. I like it, but I'm not into it. And they get down and they're like, oh, all these creatures are there. And like, you have this guy that has a laser beam head, which is okay. Sure. Why not? I'm go for it.
Yeah, like the urban myth, Siren Head.
And
whatever.
You see Cassie, and he was like, drink the ooze. And then they take him and don't give him an option to drink the ooze. And then he understands, which is like, okay, that's convenient.
Because you need everybody to understand each other.
Yeah.
So that's an old trope. And that was kind of a unique way to handle that old trope.
Yeah.
So everybody can communicate with each other in sci-fi.
No Star Trek Universal Translators here.
Or earpiece or whatever, or they shoot you in the arm and they inject you with something that you can understand. This was a nice. I will give them credit for that. Was a nice original idea.
So we have all these different creatures. I don't know what the hell, how many, but it seemed like 100 or so people there.
Yeah, I felt like I was watching Kenner's line of Star Wars toys.
And some of these creatures, I was like, okay, they're weird. Okay, that's interesting. And I was like, a lot of these look like humans. And why? Just go. If you're gonna go wild, go wild. Don't have humanoid people. Have 5-legged creatures or have 3-legged creatures. Or I did like that some of the things there were that way, but there was too many humans that the old Star Trek trope of slightly different human shapes.
This problem this movie had was no Michael Pena.
Yeah, Michael Pena was missed here.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, David Dalmachi was here, but he was playing another character. Yeah, the whole gang, all of Scott's old friends, they were really missed in this movie.
So, then we get a scene with Janet and like in, I guess, a desert kind of thing, and she fights this guy and like breaks his arm, but the arm reassembles, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, we're friends," and he was like, "What the hell is going on?" I was like, "Yeah, what the hell was going on?"
Yeah,
And then
the type of stuff it didn't work in this movie.
and they have this thing that they fly, which I don't know what the hell it is. It's just this. It looks like a stingray, but not a stingray.
Yeah.
And they fly around, and they're able to find Cassie and Scott, and they're like, "Oh, you gotta come together with me at this bar, and then we're gonna talk, and then we're gonna talk to this guy. He's gonna tell us what's going on." And I was like, "Okay." And that's when Bill Murray comes, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we've had a history together." And then I was like, "Oh," I actually did like Hank as like, what kind of history? I was thinking the same thing. I was like, well, I was down here for a long time, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, that was hilarious, and I also liked what he did to Bill Murray.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're trying to make him eat these. I mean, because there's a lot of people that are real critical now of eating octopus and cuttlefish because of their intelligence.
Yeah.
So that was hilarious when he enlarges one and throws Bill Murray into it.
Yeah. How many of these pin particles do they have just like in discs ready to be thrown away? To people, they just have like 100 of them. Like, we're gonna have 100 of them.
Thousands of. I mean, what does he have like? Well, and now that Scott is like this big mega star, I imagine he's got money. So they should have had the pin particle. Of course, Hope's got this company and turned it into a big deal. So yeah, they probably have the country of China doing nothing but making pin particles for him now.
I do like that. I like it, but it's also super convenient that they have their suits. Like, they just tap their chest and boop, they're in their suits. Okay.
Oh yeah, they're wearing their suits all the time. I was halfway expecting Hank Pym. Oh yeah, I wore my suit too.
Yeah. I mean, might as well just give him a ring and put like the Flash. And the helmet too is part of it. It's like, okay, I can understand the suit being.
I mean, I know we're ragging on this movie really hard, but I have to say that Michael Douglas, they gave him a lot to do in this movie, and he must have been having a blast.
Oh
yeah. Hank Pym got his due in this movie.
I mean, like for a third of the movie, he was just out of it, but whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but when he was there, when he was active, I mean, he was flying the ship and stuff.
So, they explained that they used to be freedom fighters or something, and he's now a sellout or something, and he's like, "Oh, you got to eat these things." And I like that Hank Pym was like, "What kind of things do we have here to get drunk?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And then I actually liked that he was like, "Oh, holy shit, that guy looks like broccoli." It's like, yeah. I would act that way too.
Yeah, Veggie Tales.
Which now we have the traitors.
At Star Wars, because my audience, somebody was going do 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 do. People were laughing because that's exactly what it looked like.
Yeah, and that's fine. I'm totally fine them having a quantum realm and all these critters and weird things. Sure, go for it.
I just thought to myself, we need to come up with a more varied language for science fiction movies, because it's getting they're making everything look like Star Wars, and now this movie, Strange World, we need a more, which is like old pulp stuff. We need to expand the language of a sci-fi.
Well, pulp is a good way. That's why this is like a pulp cereal. This is just like Buck Rogers and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, to a point. It's not as wacky as it should be, but it's not. But it still has the bad guy, the conqueror.
If they were trying to be Thor Ragnarok, they failed.
So, yeah, Bill Murray explained some stuff, but I was like, I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah, I care really at this point. I was pretty much checking out of this movie.
And then they finally explained Kang and Janet. I was like, okay, cool. And that they were together, and then that, he saved her life, and then he has this chair and this machine, and they're gonna get back. And I liked it was a kind of a cop out, but I did dig that she was able to get to turn on the machine, and then once the machine turned on, she got to see all the horrible things that he's done. And I liked that she was like, I'm going to destroy this. Yeah, damn it, damn right you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the Kang stuff worked.
Yeah.
The problem is there wasn't enough of it.
Yeah, you got to give credit though. I love Jonathan Majors.
It would have served if they had used some of the footage from Loki in this movie to further flesh out Kang, because I think my audience would have been a lot less confused if they had seen Loki, or that footage was made, or some of that footage was made available in this movie.
And he's scary. I like that he has like these psychic powers or whatever, and he could they made him pretty scary, and I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's probably the best character in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. And Jonathan Majors, he brought his A game.
Yeah.
Which he always does. I mean, I've loved him since Hostiles. I mean, this guy's amazing.
And the Quantum Realm is itself a character, and sadly, this is a really bad character, underdeveloped and not explained at all.
Yeah, exactly. It was a letdown waiting all this time.
Yeah, it has some interesting, diverse, unique environments, and these creatures that are like, okay, sure, I'm game, but like, why is there probability storms? What the hell is going on there? Okay.
Yeah, and why is it called a probability storm?
Why isn't there more of this kind of crazy shit?
Yeah.
They talk about the rules of physics don't work when you go down there. Okay, tell me more about that. Show me more about that. Nope.
Hey, but then why does gravity work?
I mean, obvious question. How the hell do they breathe if they're smaller than oxygen bubbles?
Yeah.
But whatever. Yeah, you let that one go. But still, it's just like, okay, there's so much questions here, and they give me, okay, so she got these. She had on her person these small, things to shrink it. How much smaller can they get?
Yeah.
Because they do shrink and become super small in this already micro universe. But it's like, is there like a cap in this movie?
Then we find out the ants even got smaller and built their own universe inside this universe. Have their own civilization.
And then Kang was like, okay, you're going to help me. And I actually do like that Scott said, no, I'm not going to help you. You're the bad guy. And I was like, yes, good. That's how he should act,
Yeah. I mean, there were parts of this I really liked.
And then he was talked about how he could have kill Cassie and then make him see it over and over again. Yes, that is a very cool thing. You needed to show that at least once, though.
Exactly. There needed to be a demonstration.
Yeah, and they don't necessarily have to show him rip her head off or something, but they could do like a shadow or something, and you could get the message, and you could get the message without seeing it, and then do the time warp like Doctor Strange.
Down there that Scott just met, and then repeated it, and Scott would have got the message.
Or he could have used one of those, I don't know, robot, drone, clone, I don't know if they're robots or humans or what the hell they are, with the blue heads.
Yeah.
He could have just got one of those and like rip them shreds and see how it, his power. That would have been acceptable because they destroy those things left and right. They're pretty easy to kill.
Yeah.
And you don't really care if they're killing them, if the characters are killing them, because they're so basic, and you're like, okay, they're just minions. And yeah, he should have done that to a minion then. Maybe Cassie, maybe, minion, I don't know. And it's like, okay, I need you to go down here and shrink small and go down there and go in the probability storm and then make the power source small so then we could put it into the machine. It's like, okay.
Yeah, fix the MacGuffin so we can put it in the other MacGuffin.
And I was like, so he's supposed to be from the future, right?
Yeah.
Now, I got to give credit to Hank Pym for being brilliant and inventing this technology, but I would think in the future someone else would make this technology too.
Yeah.
And or it would be reverse engineered or
that from such a far enough in the future that his technology looks like magic, he would have other technology.
Yep, that's what I was kind of getting at. Why the hell does he need Ant-Man at all? Should he have technology to be able to do that and not have to go in there?
And there's so many other people down there. There's got to be somebody who could do something, because it looks like people do come and go in this realm.
And we do get introduction to MODOK, which hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean the CG looked terrible,
but it made sense.
And seeing Corey Stoll again, that was awesome. And I just loved the whole thing with him and Cassie.
Yeah. And explaining that it wasn't just someone that lived there.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah. That's great advice for life.
No, but the thing is, I think that the way she acted, she treated him better than Kang did.
Yeah.
And Kang was abusive towards him, and I think he just saw that he was on the wrong team. And he was on the wrong side. I mean, they should have developed it a little more, but it worked well enough.
I liked how they explained it, though. They explained his origin and that, he kept shrinking.
Yeah. I mean, This is like MODOK in the comics, which is, if you want to see MODOK in the comics, there's a great Hulu show, voiced by Patton Oswalt.
I wouldn't call that show great, but I do like it. It's good.
It's funny. It's really funny.
Yeah, it's funny. It's good.
Pat is perfect as MODOK. But Corey Stoll was great as Yellow Jacket turned into MODOK. And the first question I asked when I saw MODOK is, okay, he warped going into why didn't anybody else transform going into the quantum realm?
Okay. Well, I think that was because of the fight he had in Ant-Man 1, and that they messed up the thing, and that's why it broke, because that's why it happened, because it messed up. The suit got all broken because of the fight.
And with them spending so much time in the quantum realm, are they going to develop powers like Janet Van Dyne?
Or powers like Ghost, which is completely not in this movie.
I mean, it's like the first two Ant-Man movies barely happened. They just mentioned ants and a couple other things. But, I mean, like I said, Michael Pena was so missed in this movie.
Oh, and MODOK being, the killing is part of the acronym, which I appreciate that they recognize that as an acronym. He doesn't kill anybody.
Yeah.
He does actually a pretty bad job at killing Cassie when he should be able to.
Yeah.
So we get this whole scene in the probability storm with him cloning himself or not. We're not sure what the hell is really going on. And then eventually we get the Wasp coming in, and this was really confusing, but fun, but weird, but fun.
Yeah. I also thought it was interesting that MODOK was the only person to comment on Hope's new haircut.
Oh yeah. I was like, oh yeah, you got a haircut. Yeah. I kind of wonder, so she's helping the homeless in this time and with the Prim particles. So how does that work exactly? Do they blow up Lego houses, and that way, bada boom, you have a house made of Legos that costs $1, instead of having,
You can throw food into take a little bit of food and make it humongous.
Yeah. Really have a Big Mac.
Yeah.
And a Big Mac that serves, that serves 20.
Or 200.
Yeah. So I want to know more about how this company works because there's a lot of interesting questions. She should be like the richest person in the world.
Yeah, well, that she might be. We don't know. They just kind of hinted that they're now considered heroes because of the blip and all that.
Yeah, and then
That should have been at the beginning of Phase 4, not starting Phase 5.
I do really like him reading his book and like the kids looking up to him. Oh, that was so sweet and cute.
Yeah, that was cute.
So
Not cute that I'm going to buy the book that they're offering for sale. Oh, hell no.
I wonder if someone did write that whole book or they're like, nah, I don't have time for this.
I don't know. There is a book being sold. I don't know what's in it. Don't care. I don't have the money to spend on little things like that right now. I probably would spend it on some other little thing that's more of interest to me.
So the Wasp comes back in the nick of time and helps him get the sphere. I don't know, the light sphere, whatever the hell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the MacGuffin.
And then they fight him and they lose bad. And I was like, okay, this is really menacing. And it's like, oh, you had a deal. And it's like, yeah, you had a deal. And it's like, yeah, he just had no reason to go back to that deal because he has what he needs. And like, I like that they mentioned that as a movie. Other movies would do that and be like, hey, come on,
Well, yeah, bad guy, duh.
And she's like, all right, let's start the machine. And then that whole thing is like, oh my God, the start the machine a trope where it takes like an hour to start a machine. It's like, just start. And they have enough time to do everything they need to do to stop them.
Yeah, what? Is everybody using Windows 95?
You would think the future tech would be so good that, okay, it's instant, let's go, So they go back to his town or whatever, and Cassie, is like, all right, he has a speech, and then Cassie somehow hacks it, which is like another trope, and it's like, this should be future tech. It should be like a caveman playing with the iPhone. He's not gonna know what's going on. So, okay, fine. She hacks it in. She helps these other people escape their prison. And it's all simple as hell. You basically smash the key thing and they open up. Okay. And we're all on the same side. All right. Revolution. Cool, I guess. Sure. I did really appreciate at the beginning, though, when he's like, this is not our fight. We don't know what's going on. And it's like, yeah, exactly. You don't know what the hell is going on. Maybe Kang made things better. I don't know. You never show me how things were before. So I don't know if there's a contrast. Maybe he does bring order into the chaos. I don't know. I don't know how these creatures live. Do they all farm on their own, or how does this work? How does this universe work? We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the whole action set piece where they're fighting and they get there and then he turns big. Ant-Man turns huge in retrospect in this world, but then he gets super small and then he just like is smashing things and it's like, really? All this future technology, you just smash it. That's all you have to do. Just smash it. And that's it. Come on, man. Do you think that we're that stupid?
Well, it was cool seeing Giant Man in stature.
Yeah.
Cool when they were discussing about the effects and how their hungers. Would have been nice to have that be a callback instead of an introduction. Because that when they said that, I was like, going, God damn it, that is something they should have established in an Ant-Man movie already about when he grows.
Well, they did. After he had a fight or whatever in Captain America Civil War, he did ask, do you want, they want to have orange slices? And then she was like, oh, citrus. Yeah, I'm really craving citrus right now. So that was a callback to that.
Okay. So I missed that. Very good. So I may actually, like I said, there was a lot of what I call, Chekhov's guns in this, that they would introduce something and then pay it off. So that was one.
Oh, and then that, I don't know, blob creature that was like, oh, 6 holes and 7 holes, and then
Gag that works for me because they set it up, they paid it off. It was a little cheeky, you know. It was in the PG-13 realm because this is a PG-13 movie, and it was hilarious when he got shot up and was happy that he had holes.
yeah, that was great. That was a great scene. And like that laser head guy, why wasn't he just doing that laser beam the whole time?
Yeah, they didn't explain why he couldn't.
Yeah, it's just like, is he have to charge again? Does he have to is it something that is like a battery and you have to recharge it after a while? It gets tired? I don't know. I guess they gave some of the character names, but I don't know them. If they said it like once.
And I was like, this one of the beings that was in the first Thor movie. I mean, I was like, didn't need to know really, but he was just a red shirt more or less.
And then they were like, okay, all these revolution are going through these bridges and going to the main capital, whatever, of Kang's world or whatever. And he was like, oh, what's the password to get to the bridge? And then he uses his telepathy to do it. And I was like, wait, are these robots or are these people? What the hell is inside these blue guy head things? I don't know. I thought they were robots, but then he can't. How is he able to read robot head brains? I don't know.
Yeah, don't know how it works, but at this point, I really didn't care.
And then they keep going on so many bridges, and my wife was like, "How many damn bridges are there?" I was like, "I know, right?"
I was like joking with a friend of mine. I said there were more bridges there than even in Portland, and they started laughing.
Because like they destroy a bridge, they go past the next bridge, they go to the next bridge, and it's like there's like 20 bridges in this damn place.
Yeah, it's like being in Portland.
And I did like that MODOK came back around and kind of helped him, and I was like, okay, he has the technology to kind of help fight him. Okay,
and he's like, I am Darren, and I am not a dick.
Yeah, I like that, and I liked that Ant-Man. He was like, "Oh, you're a brother to me," and Ant-Man's like, sure, yeah, he's dying, so yeah. I'm gonna."
I'd say here, MODOK was an Avenger.
Yeah, I was like, when I saw MODOK the first time, I was like, why do they have that little thing on his chest that looks like a heartbeat? And I was like, oh, I know why. And then when he died and they went to zero, I was like, okay.
Yeah. We know he died.
Yeah. And then, out of nowhere, Hank Pym comes in with all the super ants. And he was like, oh, yeah, the ants were here the whole time. And he was talking to me. I was like, sure, okay, sure, thank you.
Well, was the thing where he touched his earpiece because there was a weird sound.
Yeah.
And they should have done it at least one more time.
Yeah.
Because remember, there were several scenes in here where they had to explain stuff that they only glossed over once.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I guess. Yeah, that sounds familiar, sure. And then all these robots or all these ants are super technology advanced, and they're like somehow when they were falling down, they've able to learn or live, or they're able to make a society and use the technology and have several.
They have anything that time differential, because who knows how long time has actually been for these ants? So they became the super advanced society.
I was like, okay, sure. They have like some tech armor on them, sure. But okay, whatever. And then I actually do like, he's like, oh, they have some really cool ideas about government. And, I know socialism is a charged word. I was like, yeah, well, yeah. And I was like, with insects, I can see how that would work for insects.
Yeah, that got a laugh in my theater about socialism's a charged word. They laugh.
And then the ants come by and they all go after Kang. And I was like, okay, cool. The ants are going to rip them to shreds. Awesome. They have their talons and they're going to have their super advanced technology too. And that take care of Kang, right? Nope.
Nope, of course not.
I was like, bullshit. What the hell they do to him? Because he comes back a few minutes later.
Yeah.
So, okay. So then they're like, okay, we're gonna. Looks like Kang's done. We got Cassie back. Everyone's back. Okay, let's try to figure out a way to get out of here. And like, all right, and we'll make these portal things. And I'm like, all right, we'll jump back in. And then they were slow walking it. And I was like, oh god, I know what they're doing. They're slow walking this.
The portal trope.
One of them is not gonna survive, or one of them is gonna stay back. And then
at least they didn't cut somebody in half in the portal.
Yeah, and then it's Ant-Man and Kang's there, and it's like, oh, you do see that he messed up his arm or whatever, so he couldn't use the telepathy, I guess. But they never explained that specifically. Just saw that some of his tech was broken.
Yeah.
But you just saw him kicking Ant-Man's ass and just beating him up and like destroying the Ant-Man head, the head, but the helmet, and you're like, okay. Ant-Man's gonna die here, and Cassie's gonna see it and be inspired, and okay, and that's how you really do a menacing thing. Oh, I guess, but the portal is still open, so can't they come back and help him? Oh yeah, okay, yeah, they finally remember that after like 10 minutes, and the Wasp comes back, which she was in the movie, but barely, like 5 minutes in the movie, and having second billing, of course. And she's like, okay, we're going to help. And then the portal dies. And then they use the thing to, I don't know, make it explode and make him shrink or something. So it looks like he's dead. I don't know what the hell's going on there. But okay.
Well, a Kang's going to Kang. So it wasn't like there's a whole lot of stakes because we know there's a zillion Kangs.
And they're like, oh, the portal closed. Okay, they're going to be trapped down here. That kind of sucks, but okay.
Well, you knew they weren't going to because the whole reason the movie movied is because Cassie opened a portal.
So, and then Cassie opens up the portal again, and it's like, oh, yeah, okay. So there's none of the characters die? Because I was legitimately thinking that Ant-Man was going to die, or the Wasp, or both, or Hank, or...
Yeah. I mean, there weren't really any stakes. This was more of a... We've got this decent skeleton of a movie, but we got to shove in everything from Phase 4 that we didn't do because of COVID.
And they're like, okay, Revolution. They finally get to the, I guess the main hub. I don't know. And everyone is like excited, and it's like, okay, cool. But some people died. The head laser beam thing guy died. It's like, oh, that sucks. But like that blob guy, I guess he's still alive. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
So we're like, okay, well, you know what? I don't really care. Whatever. And
not like they were like very well developed characters.
Yeah, you don't. I don't know how they were before Kang. I don't know how they're gonna do after Kang. But sure, whatever.
Pretty much red shirts.
Yeah, or weird shirts, I guess, because, yeah, the different models and stuff. And okay, this one looks savage. Okay, sure, this one looks primitive. I don't know what she looks so human though, but whatever. I don't understand this. Were these other people shrunk too, or are they actually microscopic in their do they know about the big world, or is that completely a different concept to them?
Right. Did they fall into this world for various reasons, or did they evolve in this world?
Yeah, I want to know that, and then we don't have no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, well, in fairness, if they did evolve in this world, and they probably wouldn't know about Earth, and just like how we're in one planet and in a solar system in a galaxy. We don't know what's happening 5 galaxies away from us in the universe. That scale becomes so big, So I was like, okay, I guess to that degree I could let that pass. Maybe they don't know. I don't know.
This was missing. I expect a giant elephant with big ears to like look at him and hear somebody go Horton.
So, okay. They go back and they're like, okay, we're all good. Yeah, we're all good. Yay. And you get some narration and it's like, okay, this is kind of ending. And there was a couple endings in this movie and it drove me crazy because it's like, okay, the first ending with the ants going after Kang. Okay, sure. And then ending number 2 when okay, Kang is in the thing, and then ending number 3, okay, now we don't know what to do. We kind of run out of gas, but we're kind of wrapping up the story, and it's like, okay. And then the final ending, which was, oh, the cake. And I was like, wait, is something wrong with the cake? What's going on there? And my wife was like, oh.
I mean, yeah, the guy, he said he hadn't made a cake since 97, but obviously this cake couldn't have been made in 97 because it's ant, so it's a new cake. So why is it tasting awful?
It was just a weird way to end the movie.
It wasn't funny. It just made no sense.
I was like, wait, is there something else happening in this cake that's making them kind of, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also want to know where Brad Garrett was. That's another character that was missing.
And
Scott's ex-wife, are they back together again? Now, I didn't think they were because he's with Hope. So what's going on there? Why wasn't he? He should have been at the celebration.
I do like that he was self-aware and like, no one knew what happened. Everyone's living their life and no one knows what happened that saved the, microverse or whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, I like that. I appreciate that. Okay. So I was like, all right, I guess maybe something happened to the cake, or maybe there's like something surprising that, just cutaway gag or something. I don't know.
Did something, or did being in the quantum realm change his taste buds?
Or did some kind of character
would have been nice. It wasn't funny. It was just a what the hell. It didn't have any payoff, didn't pay anything off, and it didn't make sense.
Now, it had 2 post-credit scenes, and both of these were doozies. They're like, okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the first one was with the Council of Kangs.
Yeah, and they're in an arena. And we got to see, a whole bunch of characters. Kang is a retcon in comics. There were lots of villains that were one-offs that got reconned into being, or retconned into being Kang, like Ramen, like the Egyptian guy, Ramen 2, and oh god, the other one, the Sentinel, in the comics, Scarlet Sentinel, but I imagine call him Sentinel. And there's so many different versions of Kang, and some are good guys, and some are bad guys. Kang's an interesting character.
And they're like, okay, now we know for a fact that he's gone, and now we got to take care of things. And it's like, okay, how do they know he's gone? Do they have like monitoring him or something? And okay, what are they going to do? I don't know.
He was imprisoned in the quantum realm, so.
Yeah. So okay.
So but he could have also shrank to a much smaller size. We'll find out, I'm sure, if he's gone.
So, okay. That Kang could protect us from the other Kangs. What are the other Kangs going to do? What? Okay, sure. Okay, that's comic book Kangs, sure, whatever. And then we get all the way at the post-credits. And then you see the same guy, Jonathan, and he's like in 1980s, or not 1980s, 1800s.
Yeah,
and
he's timely. Snake oil salesman. And my audience, they were like going, what the hell is Loki doing in this? They had no idea.
Yeah, and it's like, why is Loki with that celebrity?
Yeah, I thought Loki was dead, and people started laughing because a few people had seen the Disney Plus show, but most of the audience, they were lost about a lot of this stuff.
So yeah, they're like, why is Owen Wilson in this? I thought Loki was dead, and like, okay, but like, in Loki, the series ends with Kang being like the statue in that place of so for Owen Wilson, Morbius, that character should already know about Kang, and for him, they should be okay with Kang or understand it. So
wouldn't know Victor Timely.
So I guess it's a way to get to season 2 of Loki.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that looks like because we got to remember one of the end scenes in one of the Ant-Man movies was from Civil War. So it looks like they just did the same thing, but used Loki season 2.
Yeah.
And Victor Timely is an interesting character. Some people think he's the first Kang, or could be the first Kang in the MCU, because they're not following exactly the comics, which doesn't bother me at all, because so far almost everything they've done with Kang has been more interesting than the comics anyway.
Yeah, and then the movies got to do their own thing. They can't exactly copy and paste because it'd be boring.
Well, the thing is, you can't, because Hank is in the comics. Hank Pym created Ultron, not Tony Stark, and there's lots of other little things like that.
Okay, so let's kind of just wrap up here and try to, I guess, get like an overall thoughts. So, like I said, I think I said, I don't know. Brain's confused. I give it a 6 out of 10. I think you said you gave it a 6 as well, right?
I mean, yeah, my 6 is a roundup, but I imagine yours is too. I mean, the basic bones of this movie were really good. I mean, they set things up and had them pay off mostly. They had, Chekhov, Chekhov's gun. You introduce a gun in the first act, it's got to go off by the third.
Yeah. It just thinking about like what you said, that we're just kind of in sync in that, I was going back and forth between a 5 and a 6, and I was like, the thing is, I like it more than I don't, and so that pushed it over to 6.
Yeah. If I didn't think it was worth seeing at all, I probably would have given it a 4 or lower, but I thought it was worth seeing. I thought there were some great performances in it. I didn't think there were any what I'd call bad performances. I thought 6 was warranted.
Yeah, and the 3D, I felt bad. I really did feel bad writing that down. I was like, I have to give it weak, because if I don't give this weak, then what the hell is weak? Because if this is good, then the bar is too low.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it looked like incomplete.
Yeah. But yeah, it frustrated me. I was like, damn it. One of the things I mentioned in my written review, I was like, I'll link it to you so you could read it. But it's like I'm not satisfied in my mind of how the story went through, So it's just frustrating because like I have more follow-up questions. How do you live here 30 years? What do you eat while you're down here? Is there water down here? How does that work?
Yeah.
Does she? So yeah, these little creatures. Okay. All 2 of them look humanoid. Too many of them look humanoid. They all should look weird. Mm-hmm. And if that means you have less creatures, sure, fine. You don't need to have 100 extras. You could have 30.
Yeah.
Just be creative. So. And the exposition dumps were just like, come on. I did like how we like, well, I don't know how to fly this damn thing, and like, well, just put your arms in it. And I was like, well, what? So, yeah, I dig that. That was funny. That was good.
Yeah.
And I like that. There's some of those self-aware stuff that I do appreciate that I don't think people are really appreciating that much in Marvel.
Yeah. And there were some nice little touches, like when Hank Pym says that he read Scott's book, every damn word of it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, okay, I was like, okay. It was interesting that they mentioned the homelessness, and it's like, damn, that one really hits hard. Right now, there's a lot of problems with homelessness.
Especially in San Francisco. Bad.
Yeah. I was like, huh. And I was like, well, how do they fix that? Yeah, I don't know how they fix that. How does making things bigger and smaller change that seems like it would change everything. Obviously we have the line from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids that's going to reinvent, completely change moving, which is like, hell yeah, it would.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. You could set up a homeless city in hours instead of months. You could
But
make
like,
something, a model. You could have a model makers make a whole bunch of houses, and then you just enlarge them.
yeah, or you could just get a twig and then enlarge that, and there you go. You can have a wood. You don't have to chop down a whole tree.
Yeah, exactly. You can prune a tree and just enlarge the wood.
Boom. There you go. You can make your house like that. And, I don't know. Yeah. So it's like so many of those follow-up.
Or you can make miniature bricks and use the clay of one brick. You can make hundreds of little bricks, then enlarge them, and then bingo.
Yeah, I mean, it would completely ruin the economy of some places.
Yeah, or you can just enlarge dollhouses.
The whole granite for your stovetop? Shit, if you only need a little crumb of that, make that bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, why would you pay $1,000 to re-granite your tabletop?
Yeah, and you can like take gold and you can enlarge it and take your $200 nugget and you're a billionaire.
Yeah, that economy, that's interesting. That's a good idea. Yeah, boom.
Mm-hmm.
This diamond boom. I just made up. I just caused the entire diamond market to crash.
Yeah, just crash. No more blood diamonds. Bam.
And oil. That one. That barrel of oil.
Into the supplies of oil.
Yeah, that one barrel now is 100 feet tall, and bada bing, bada boom. You don't need to have. You don't need to drill that much oil.
Yep.
So it's interesting, but there's follow-up questions that you're never going to get the answer to.
Yeah, you can catch one fish and then enlarge it big enough to feed a whole city.
Yeah, and I mean, it totally makes sense that there's homeless problems after the blip because people maybe had a home or maybe had an apartment and then they were gone.
And somebody else is in it.
Yeah, and it's like not their fault.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they didn't have to be blipped.
So I still wish that they would have like a show or something that they really go into what happened in that time because they're moving on to Kang, which I get.
I know they mentioned some of it. I mean, there was a little bit of it in Captain America and the Winter Soldier show. Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we haven't had any other real reference to. And there was one little scene in Black Widow when we got to see, Blonde Widow, what the blip was like for her.
Yeah, and that was really cool.
But we needed more of that, and we needed it reinforced. There really should have been some Marvel one-shots dealing with the blip.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea I have of having a nature documentary and just having it be about the blip and what happened in those 5 years in nature.
Mm-hmm.
That could be fascinating.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, like an Attenborough type documentary about how the blip affected him.
And you already have that. I think doesn't Disney Plus own Nat Geo or something, right?
I don't know, but Nat Geo does not own the nature documentary. Anybody can make one.
Yeah, but as I'm saying, they have the crew that they could make those movies or shows.
Exactly.
And that would, it could be really interesting and fun, and but they're moving on to Kang and timelines and everything, and I'm a little bit thinking that it might be good. Disney's not going to let them, but it might be good to, after the second Avengers movie, when they reset the universe. Okay, then you reset the universe and you're done. And you take a 10-year break off of comic book movies. But they're not going to do that because Disney, it's like, nope.
Yeah,
you got to
keep much money.
Because, Marvel and DC do that shit all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You reset universe.
The reset's going to be interesting with DC, especially since they've got so many other. They have to push out the old regime's movies and the old timeline to still make money and still get people enough to care. I mean, because they've sold them on a shared universe, so it's really hard to get them invested in a single movie if they don't feel like it's part of a shared universe.
Yeah. Did you see the new poster for the Marvels?
Yeah.
I guess we didn't talk about that.
Online, not in person, so I didn't see if that had any credits or not. All I've seen is online image. It looked nice.
Yeah, it's colorful and nice. Now it's going to be hard to understand how two characters are from TV shows and one character from a movie. Yeah, how they're going to mix those stories together.
Yeah, they're going to have to. They need to cover more material from the TV shows, and not just assume people are watching them.
Yeah.
Or assume somebody's going to enjoy this movie and want to go subscribe to Disney Plus. No, if it's anything like the audience for Quantumania that I was with, they were frustrated.
Yeah.
By all of a sudden being thrown stuff. Of course, most of the people there had only seen probably Avengers movies and maybe a couple other. They were casual Marvel fans, but they were lost.
Yeah. The Marvel's posters, it's really pretty colors, but it's like it's such a bold thing to have Miss Marvel on the bottom, and then the Marvel that everyone knows, in the middle, and then another Marvel that's in WandaVision.
I think they're gonna call her. I think they're gonna call Monica Rambeau Photon, maybe. She's got other names,
But yeah, having to explain those two other characters and then also do that. And it's interesting seeing what's her name in the trailer for Fast X. She seems so relaxed and happy, and it's like, damn it, why can't we have that?
Brie Larson. So I'm like going, like I said, there's so many people in that trailer. If everyone gets a minute of screen time, that movie is going to be over 3 hours long.
Yeah, that Brie Larson looks so happy and like just I don't know how she's acting there. She looks like she has more fun in that little moment of Fast and Furious 10 than she did in her own Miss Marvel movie.
Yeah.
But like, I was surprised we didn't get a trailer for Miss Marvel or new trailer. I guess we had a new trailer for Guardians, but
I think we didn't because they had changed the release date.
And there was supposed to be a new trailer for what's it called, Little Mermaid, but apparently they stopped doing that for Super Bowl. I don't know why, but yeah.
Well, all I saw was the gorgeous 3D thing trailer before Quantumania, which was nice. I said it was the best 3D of the night.
It's driving me crazy too that I see trailers for Quantumania and like they have all the characters jumping out of the aspect ratio.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about with they're like, oh, look at this, it's kind of like 3D. You got to see it in 3D. And it's
all the ads for 3D, and I'm like going, God, of all the movies to promote the 3D for.
But yeah, it's just like very few movies play with the aspect ratio that way, and they should, especially 3D movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's so crazy. It's such a rare thing, and it's just like they show it in the commercials, and it's like, yeah, that should be how you watch it too in the theater, but they don't do that.
No.
And it's like, okay, I'm glad they're advertising 3D now, but we still don't know so many things. And it's like, out of the blue, we knew about Scream. I was like, okay. Yeah. All right, man. It was good talking to you.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
But wait, there's more!
We're back, but I am not with the Jake that you know or previously. I have new Jake here, aka Jacob. So, let's talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp, Jake.
All right.
And Quantumania. In Quantumania. I'm all over the place right now. So, I guess the first question is, how'd you like the 3D aspect of this?
It was good. It wasn't the greatest, but it was fine.
Okay. What scenes did you really think it was really awesome in or really enjoyable in?
Probably my favorite one was whenever he was actually going down into the quantum realm itself. That was probably my favorite.
So, like, the scene like they're falling down.
Yes.
Okay, this is a Spoilercast, so you can spoil whatever you want, man. If you have anything specific else you want to, any specific other scenes?
Not that I can remember. It was just a lot of darkness.
Okay. So, if you were reviewing it, you would give it a good rating, or would you, or no what?
Yeah, I'd say good.
Okay. Now, me and Classic Jake disagree with you. We gave it a weak 3D because it just was very flat to us.
Really?
Yep. I watched it in IMAX, and it just, yeah, there's a couple layers, but it should be more. It was just kind of meh.
Fair. Yeah. I mean, it's not the worst I've seen. I mean, I thought it was better 3D than Thor 4 or Love and Thunder, and even better than Spider-Man No Way Home.
Okay. I guess we'll get to the movie itself. What's your thoughts on the movie?
It's okay.
Okay. What score would you give it?
God, probably a 6 out of 10.
Okay. Well, we agree on that. All of us are giving it a 6 out of 10. What did you not like about it?
It wasn't as small scale as the other two Ant-Man movies. It was like, I don't know, it wasn't as fun. Um, it was, there's a couple of laughs, but it wasn't as funny as I hoped it was going to be. It was, and I don't know, it just had such small stakes for the Ant-Man series, which has been just kind of individual adventures for the most part.
Okay. What did you think of Kang the Conqueror?
He was the best part of the movie.
Okay. Do you understand the post-credit scene since you haven't watched Loki, or no?
I actually started watching Loki. I'm about 4 episodes in out of 6. Yeah, I understood it.
Okay, well, good. What do you think of MODOK?
Oh. Sorry. The I don't know really. Like, I'm aware of MODOK. I really don't know what he's capable of in the comic books or anything like that. Except that he's kind of like a giant head with a tiny body. The CGI was just awful for whenever it was just the head. It was just awful. Like, whenever he took off the mask, I laughed in the theater every time he did it.
So do you think that was intentionally awful, or do you think it is not, it's like awful?
I think it's just awful. Like, it's almost as bad as Mark Ruffalo's floating head in Avengers Infinity War when he's in the Hulk suit, or the Iron Buster suit.
So you didn't think he was a good organism to kill? A metallic organism?
No.
Have you seen the MODOK TV show?
No. I've seen the trailers for it.
Okay. The TV show's okay. Maybe a 6 out of 10. It has its moments, but it just, it's not, I don't know. It's okay, for what it is.
Yeah. I mean, that just seems to be based strictly on comedy, though. So, I mean, versus being like a legit threat, I guess.
Okay. What did you think of all the little people, the microverse?
Fine, but just written to be kind of fairly generic. Like, the only one I could remember the name of is Veb, the guy with the juice who wanted the holes.
Okay. What about the laser beam head guy?
Cool, but like, there's like no character there except he shot lasers from his head. And the leader lady, she was just a lady who I forgot her name, so that's why I'm referring to her as a lady. She seemed all right, but there's just no character development with most of the characters, and even Bill Murray's character, kind of useless. Didn't need to be there, honestly.
But you don't care about the revolution?
Yeah, but I mean, like, even though I didn't care for the Thor Ragnarok, Korg at least was a memorable character. They didn't have a Korg.
Or what'd you think about the probability storm?
That's all right.
All right. With other creatures, did you like the design of them?
Yeah, yes and no, I guess. It seemed kind of too strange worldy for me a little bit, kind of like Disney is just recycling other IPs into other IPs. It gave me that strange world vibe, like especially with the Veb character.
Okay. What other things do you want to mention about the movie?
Man, honestly, the movie was just so generic that it's almost kind of forgettable. Even though I wrote down notes, I still forget like, oh, did this happened here. But yeah, I mean, the introduction of King the Conqueror, excellent. Jonathan Majors, this is like the first time I've seen him besides Loki, and he just killed it. His performance was excellent.
Okay. And what did you think of just having the one problem I had with the movie? I don't know if you did, but it seemed really easy for Ant-Man to grow big and just smash everything and be like, okay, there we go. The future tech is not necessary. It not it can't sustain a giant of smashing it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like in the previous movie when he turned giant, like in Civil War, they established that when he got Giant Man, he passed out not too long after because it exerted so much energy. And they touched on it whenever his daughter Kathy had turned giant, but she was just hungry. She didn't pass out as a giant or as a regular sized human. She just like, oh, I'm so hungry and I want citrus. And they just kind of played upon that instead of just, I don't know, it just seemed too easy to contrive.
Now, I guess technically, compared to the other people, they're giant, but I mean, obviously, they're still microscopic compared to us.
Right. Yeah, they're subatomic, so.
Yeah. I was happy to have the ants at the end of the movie.
Yeah, I agree.
What other notes do you have?
Let's see here. I also just noticed how the movie itself, it's like, why was Ant-Man saddled with such an important introduction? Why couldn't it just be another heist movie? And I missed Luis and T.I.'s character and the other one. I forget his name, but I missed him.
I mean, the FBI agent was there, but he didn't say anything.
Yeah, he didn't say a word. It was just at lunch, and the Baskin Robbins guy had better screen time.
Yeah.
Which that was kind of funny. And also the coffee guy is like, I know you are, you're Spider-Man. And then at the end of the movie, he was like, oh, you're the little one. Your coffee's $12.
He's the bug one, yeah. I was actually really thinking that they're going to kill off Ant-Man in this. I don't know about you.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because I said to my friends at work, it's like, Ant-Man is going to die, or if not Ant-Man, it's going to be the OG Ant-Man, Hank Pym, maybe his wife, Janet. Nope.
Or the Wasp.
Yes. They're probably saving that for Kang Dynasty or whatever the other one's going to be called, the other Avengers movie.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about Wasp being in the movie, but like barely?
She was in the movie? She was mainly there to ask questions, to be like they dumped the exposition to her, and that's just not good. She was barely there.
She uses the tech the PIM particles to help homeless people somehow.
Yeah, which I don't get. And how does it help with the, bringing food to everywhere? Like, I don't understand that. Unless, how they use the Back to the Future 2 style with the pizza where they made it bigger.
Yeah. I guess they could also make it smaller, and that way they could carry it around, too.
Fair. But it's just kind of funny releasing such powerful tech into the world and not think of the consequences, because you could easily take a PIM particle and probably shrink down a nuclear bomb or a bomb of some sort and do terrorist activities. Because can a metal detector or like TVA or whatever, can they detect bombs? If it's subatomic, who knows? The consequences aren't answered.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Like someone could literally shrink their accomplice, and then they put them in their nose, like in the bathroom or something, and then they go sneeze, and then they sneeze around the metal detector, and that way that no one knows what happened. They just see someone guy sneezing, and he flies out there, and he has weapons, and he gets big, and boom, he can just take care of things because he has weapons, and there you go.
Right. It's just like the consequences. They didn't think about that.
So, I mean, I'm glad that she's trying to help the homeless. That's good.
Yeah. I'm glad she got control of the company back, even though that was just thrown out the window.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything else you want to mention or no?
Marvel / Disney. Hey, make better movies. Like, just quit cranking them out so often. I'm getting so tired of it. It's just a general complaint about the Marvel universe in general. There's no originality. They just seem to be taking other IPs that they've released. Like, it just felt like the movie Strange World, just in live action and without the father-son aspect. It was just,
So are you more or less excited for Guardians 3?
I'm more excited because, at least based on the trailer that they showed before the movie, the 3D looked excellent. If not the movie itself, the 3D looks amazing. But based on the logos, it looks like that Drax and or Rocket's going to die.
Okay.
And I just want to be there because I really like those characters, and I need an emotional Marvel. I haven't had an emotional Marvel movie since Endgame. Or, well, you could say No Way Home, but that one wasn't that good, in my opinion.
Okay. So the next one after that is The Marvels, which we know nothing about, except a poster.
I guess I'll have to watch the Miss Marvel to get into, understand Miss Marvel. But
You watched WandaVision, right?
I did watch WandaVision. I enjoyed WandaVision, and I watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was less enjoyable. But man, I don't like Captain Marvel the movie, and so far she's been kind of a nothing burger as being the most powerful Avenger.
Okay. All right. I guess it's going to be it for this additional section with Jacob. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
But wait, there's more.
Hello, I'm back with another person. Hey, John.
Hey, Adolf, how are you?
I'm all right. So we get your chance to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania.
Quantumania.
So, as always, to talk about the 3D aspect first, how were your thoughts on the 3D?
Well, I saw it in IMAX 3D, and as often is the case, except for everybody but James Cameron movies, they do tend to show a little darker. I thought it was okay. It wasn't as good as more recent Marvel for me. I thought Doctor Strange was better.
Mm-hmm.
But there were times in the quantum realm where things were popping. So I'd probably give it 6 or 7 for the 3D.
Okay.
It was enjoyable. I'm glad I saw it in 3D. Certainly wasn't anything compared to The Way of Water. But the showing felt okay to me.
Yeah. For me, I don't know if you saw my review. I'm assuming you didn't.
I did not. I apologize.
Okay.
I was traveling the last week.
That's fine. So I watched it in IMAX 3D as well, and I was just it just kind of felt flat to me. So it was just it's okay. It's hard for me to recommend, people spending their hard money, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
It's not terrible per se. I've seen worse, but for me, it was just so not existent. I said it was weak, so.
Yeah, I think the challenge is like, what is our level of like? There's the Way of Water, great, and then we've seen so many bad things. I think it kind of fell right in the middle of that, But I'm with you. You definitely. It's not one of those like Avatar where it immerses you or you'll lose something by not seeing it in 3D. You could go to a regular screen or even watch it at home, and I think you'll get the same out of the movie. Unfortunately, if you don't see it in 3D.
Now, was there spoilers? So, any specific spoilery scenes in 3D that you want to mention?
Not unfortunately, no, and maybe that's a sign of it not being that great. Certainly, there were moments in the quantum realm. All the stuff before they got there, which wasn't a lot of the movie, they were in the quantum realm for most of it. All that stuff was pretty flat, as I recall. But the quantum realm had some things, but at times, I think the darkness of how it was shot took away from the potential of the 3D.
Okay. I think for me, I remembered the scene right after Bill Murray came, and they had like a monster, and it was like biting the screen. It was like, did you notice that?
Yes. Now you say that, yeah. The one where the monster they were eating and they enlarged it. That one, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, there was like this other kind of monster that its like snout was like popping out, trying to bite you.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. There was that. You're right.
But still, I just wanted it to be so much more depth and much more to it.
Well, I think we could say that about the 3D and the movie. Maybe I'm not sure what your thoughts were on the movie, but I think I felt the same way about both. Unfortunately.
All right, let's get to the movie then. So, what are your thoughts on the movie itself?
Much like the 3D, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't really good, or even certainly not great. Just feels like missed opportunities with it. For whatever reason, they decided to change the formula of what kind of made, I think, the first two Ant-Man special. They had kind of that rom-com feel to them with a little bit of action thrown in. This kind of deviated from that. It had funny moments for sure, but it definitely didn't feel it had the same, the same track through the movie as those two did, even though it was the same director. And I don't know if that's because they worked so hard to set up Kang for the future of Marvel. But it just seemed like missed opportunities. The story really just about him and his daughter, Wasp, wasn't really even in it, which was disappointing because they showed some really cool stuff with her in the last one. If you remember the kitchen scene in Ant-Man and Wasp where she fought, that was really good. 3D was good in that too, by the way. And Wasp just seemed to really disappear in this one. It became about him and Cassie. Even though Cassie really didn't do anything, suddenly she has a costume and has the same powers. I don't know if you ever watched the CW at all, through the Arrowverse and all that.
Yeah.
And I remember when that Flash show started, I really enjoyed it. But pretty much once you got to like the 4th, 5th season, everyone had powers. Everyone was a superhero. That's kind of how you're starting to feel in some of these Marvel movies now. It's like everyone has something, and it makes the people who you started with who had it, they're not special anymore. They're not super anymore. So I would probably give the movie a 6 out of 10 for me. That's where I would fall.
Yeah, I really agree with you because, Ant-Man, there's a reason why Ant-Man, why Paul Rudd became Ant-Man, because, he was a thief, and that's what, he got into that role, and he wanted to have that experience. And then, of course, the original Hank Pym, he invented the tech, so okay, but she's just there, okay, that's, I want to be there too. Oh, cool, why not? And
right.
So yeah, I completely agree with you. I gave it a 6 as well.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like classic Jake. I mean, I don't know how much I mean, him and I think know a little bit about. He knows a lot about comics. I know some too, and I was excited for them to do MODOK.
Yeah.
They changed his history, okay, but it just they made it too campy, I think, and the visual effects looked bad with it. Things like that just didn't add up, and then. I don't know if you read the stories that came out afterwards that the visual effects team got short on time because they were working on Wakanda. So there's all kinds of stuff that it just seemed off too many ways to make it solid. If you're a Marvel fan, I would say see it for sure. Especially, Paul Rudd is still good. He still does the same thing, but it's not a highlight in Marvel by any means.
Now, obviously, there's a lot of videos now that's out. YouTube loves to make their theories, and there's one theory that I really like that I hope I'll discuss it with you since we've talked about this movie a bunch of times already with everyone else, but I haven't had anyone else talk about this theory. Now, my idea or their idea is that when they came out of the quantum realm, they're not in their universe anymore, and they don't know it until the cake scene. And it's just slightly different. And you're like, oh, this is how they make cake is bad. And, there's like it's a simulation made by Kang to basically have Ant-Man and the Wasp and all of them out of the picture to just have them. And the whole thing is a simulation. Like you could see someone did a video and the video had the same actors walking behind him. And it just had an eerie feeling. And he was like, really questioning, did it really end this way? So if that is the case, I think that'll be really cool, but I don't know if it is. But what do you think of that idea?
Yeah, it's not one I've read and never thought of, but I really like it. I actually might like the movie more if they did that. Now whether it's in a simulation or it's just another
universe.
Earth. Yeah, like the multiple ones you saw in Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be really cool. And I would think Kang would be able to control all of that for certain. So that would be a really good idea. I guess what I wouldn't understand is why Ant-Man would be such a threat to him. Is it because he can transfer in and out of the quantum realm? I'm not sure. But I like the idea. That would be great.
So, because I noticed in there that there's like a picture of Ant-Man and like it looked like he was like a graffiti in the wall and that graffiti looked like he's like dead and people were kind of shocked to see him.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe, another option that could be that instead of going back to their time, they went to like a year after the blip or immediately after the blip. So that way people don't know what's going on with Ant-Man and he's lost and they're surprised to see him because he's supposed to be gone. That would be even more interesting too if he's lost in time, because maybe he is in the same universe, but he's just they were in the quantum realm for a while, and he was in the quantum realm a while before during Endgame. So that would be really cool. That would be pretty. That could have been the great shock at the end. That would have been, oh, awesome, and yeah, that could have been the way to make this turn it around. I don't know if there's. I assume Marvel is quite clever, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, and they could easily tie it in with Doctor Strange then, because in that end credit scene in that movie, remember Charlize Theron showed up, took him for whatever reason, but didn't he leave he went into the multiverse or some other multiverse in that end credit scene. So that could easily be tied in if they were doing something with Ant-Man. So it would be cool. I have no idea. I mean, I don't know if, Guardians, I haven't seen anything from Guardians that makes it look like it's tied in to any of this stuff. It just seems like they're tying up all the loose ends and shutting that series down, especially with James Gunn being gone now from Marvel. So you're going to wait until November, I guess, for Marvels that there could be any tie-in with it?
Yeah. And then Marvel's going to have to tie into itself because it has to, catch people up for Miss Marvel and people that didn't watch WandaVision.
Yeah, and are you gonna, to know what's going on in Loki season 2? Are you gonna have to know Ant-Man, or is it, they're getting into a dangerous place where you almost have to watch too much to know what's going on. That's, if that first season or phase or 2 of Marvel, they did a really good job of having enclosed stories that you could enjoy, but they would put stuff in, but you didn't need to know it for previous movies, and they certainly didn't have to worry about TV shows then. It's almost too much now to some degree.
I mean, they did have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and they did connect at first, and then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, they did. You're right.
I don't know if you watched the whole of that or not.
I did not. No. I might have gotten 2 seasons.
Okay.
Yeah, I was disappointed that. I like the character, but I was disappointed that Agent. I can't think of his name. Yeah, Coulson. I was disappointed how they made him alive again. I liked that he made the sacrifice in Avengers. So even though I liked the character, I thought it was the right move.
So yeah, it just keeps going crazier and crazier each season, and like introduce Inhumans kind of, and introduce just these different kinds of ideas, and it just like doesn't connect at all with anything else that's happening in the movies, or not directly. There's like, oh yeah, Mr. Coulson gave him the helicarrier or something. What
Didn't they?
Yeah, it's something.
Didn't they bring in Ghost Rider at some point?
Yeah, Ghost Rider's cool.
Is it okay? I don't even think I ever saw it, but I know I read about it.
And then like the second to last season, they go into an alternate future, and then the last season they're time traveling.
Oh really? Oh, I had no idea that's what they did.
And so you could basically just say that they just went off to their own little universe, and it just didn't connect because there's so many plot threads that do not attach to anything in the MCU. So yeah. People, it's one of those things you lose or you can't win either way, because if you have too loose of a narrative on TV, you can do whatever you want. Then it's hard to connect that to the movies, but you don't want to assume everyone watches all the shows, all the movies.
Right.
People that don't watch everything, they're going to be confused, and maybe it's easier to watch all the movies than it is to watch all the TV shows and all the movies, because obviously it costs $10 a month or whatever to get Disney Plus and to watch the shows, and people don't have time to watch all these shows, so it's hard.
It is, yeah. What was there something specific that you really enjoyed in Ant-Man, Quantumania?
It was just all good. It was not like I really liked Kang. I think Kang is the standout.
Yes, agreed. Yep.
And I liked that they did try to destroy him, and once they learned about the empathetic chair or whatever, okay, cool. But that's a good plot device to explain why he's evil. But yeah, that she tried to stop him. Okay, I like that. I like that. Yeah.
No, I agree with you 100%. I think one of Marvel's greatest challenges is having good villains. Like besides Thanos, they usually struggle to have a solid villain, and I thought this was one of the movies that did. I thought how he was portrayed was really good. I really enjoyed Kang in this one.
So the Council of Kangs, what do you think is going to happen to that?
I don't know. I mean, it was very cool to see, and I love the idea, but I just don't know how they're going to do it. I mean, I guess, is it true? Like, did they send this one away because he was too bad, or was that just something he said? I'm still not clear what the reality really is with that.
Yeah, and from what I've heard from Marvel, they they do have a big plan, but they also have wiggle room in their movies. So if people really, really, really hate something, they can change it later on, like the Mandalorian, not the Mandalorian, the Mongolian, not Mongolian. What was it called? The bad guy in Iron Man 3, Mandarin. Yeah, the orange, right?
No, you're right. It's Iron Man 3. They kind of changed it up to get it back to kind of. People were so mad about that in Iron Man 3 that they fixed it a little bit in Shang-Chi. in that story. But
the Mandarin.
Mandarin, yeah. But I mean, Jonathan Majors as Kang was just unbelievable. I thought he was really good.
Yeah. I did appreciate that they explained how the creatures can talk English.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, as gross as it was kind of cool how they did that. Yeah. I did like and I know there's been some people talking about it being more of like, kind of like a Star Wars, like it had the cantina scene and that kind of stuff. But I did like that they had a lot of original creatures and things like that. And I don't know how many of those that were there were pulled direct from the comics. But there was a lot of different things to look at that I thought there was a lot of unique ideas there, which was kind of cool, which is one of the upsides for me.
Yeah, I kind of felt like they probably could have toned down the amount of characters because you have like hundreds of things there.
Yeah, right. You couldn't keep track of people. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you have the Star Trek kind of thing where that looks like a human but with different ridges on his forehead,
Yep. Right, yeah.
So
yeah, is it Romulan or is it Vulcan, right?
Yeah, they're just slightly different. Back in the old school days, they had a helmet difference, but yeah, they were the same. But yeah, I kind of feel like they could have just gone super. They did have a lot of crazy ideas there, but they could have gone even further and just have multiple armed creatures, multiple leg creatures, spider creatures. Maybe have more insects or something. And I still don't know. Are these creatures, did they get shrunk or have they always been this big?
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. There wasn't any, because so like when Scott went large, is he like regular human size then, or is he still like even super small? There was like no scale then. As soon as they went to the quantum realm, the scale was kind of gone, right? So you really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't when you're beyond the tininess of atoms. It's kind of like my mind can't even scope that.
Yeah, no, yeah, you can't even fathom it, so you don't know what the hell's going on, right?
Yeah, it was, it had some fun there. I think people are kind of jumping onto it and really hating it because it disappointed them. And, not everything has to be great. It's fine. You can have some sixes.
Yeah, and I do, I think there's, you see it in sports a lot too, where when somebody wins all the time, people hate them, or hate the team. And I think Marvel's kind of gone that way. Like they were so good for so long, could almost do no wrong. People just started to like dislike them. And, every movie can't be Endgame. It can't be Spider-Man No Way Home. Like you just can't do that. I mean, I love Shang-Chi. That's one of my favorite Marvel movies. I just think it's a blast. It's got great action scenes. It's got some fantasy elements. I love the Asian culture parts of it. It's just neat. And even though it performed okay, even that movie got dumped on by people. I just don't understand it. It's almost like if you don't have this big crossover super event every time, people just dump on it. So I don't understand that, but I think there are good things, but I think there were missed opportunities as well with this one.
Yeah, especially, he's now big. He can now destroy the palace that he lives in. Okay.
Right, yeah. And like the one thing I have to say I didn't like, when he's like stomping through and is like, you didn't keep your word, where is Cassie? And I'm like, well, why would you think he was keeping his word? He's a bad guy. Like, I never thought he was going to keep his word. Why would you ever think that? So some of that writing was a little off for me, but.
Yeah, I wish they would have, the whole weird stuff with the probability storm. They could have played more into that and have more weird shit like that happening.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like other than the Baskin Robbins Paul Rudd, there really wasn't any weird ones, right? He was all just Ant-Man the whole time, I think, right?
Well, yeah, but like I'm just saying, they did mention that the rules of science don't work the same. It's like, okay.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You have one scene, cool, but you could have multiple ideas there playing around. You could have, they kind of play with it with like a sun creature, but still you could have like different gravity and different.
Yeah, right.
So I felt like they touched on that with the Quantum Realm, but like they could have gone further. And you know, if you're gonna go crazy, go crazy. So yeah, it was fine. I mean, I do like how he was like being a celebrity and stuff, and you know, being a just that line about the kids. You could grow up to be like me. It's like, oh, that's corny but good.
Yeah, when he was reading his book in the library, that was pretty good. I did miss his friends though, right? Like, weren't they a great part of the first two movies?
Yeah.
I would have liked to seen them, but I guess I don't know, too much stuff to do. I don't know.
I mean, Luis could be the great way to have every time previously on, and just have Luis do that forever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that same way they go through the story and have people talking in other people's voices. I mean, that's I don't know. I see an Ant-Man movie. I just want to see that. I love that part.
But yeah, that's if you want to connect the TV shows, and all right, just have Luis do the recap.
That would be great. Yeah.
And that way, okay. I didn't watch WandaVision, but Luis does a 1 minute, recap. Okay, cool. And that way, you know what's going on. Or if you don't want to have Luis there because you don't, want to know, you can have the Watcher have it, and the Watcher could, explain things, and that makes sense in canon, whatever you want to do. But
yeah, I watched Ant-Man and Wasp in 3D at home like the weekend before, I think, and I realized I forgot how much I enjoyed it. It's a fun movie. It's definitely the same formula as the first one, but it works. There's some great action scenes in San Francisco and stuff, and there's good humor. Luis and the guys are there. There's just some good stuff with it. But this one just really steered away from the formula of the first two, and I think maybe in retrospect that probably was a mistake.
And not having Ghost, I think Ghost could have been really helpful. Yeah,
and watching that, I've maybe seen that movie now a handful of times from start to finish. I do like that character. That movie's better than the first time I saw it, I think. That second one.
Yeah, and as much as it sounds terrible to say, if they would have killed off some of the characters, I think it would have been more impactful.
Yeah, I did think at least one person was going to have to die on this one to give it any weight, but they didn't do that, and I think that was a mistake. Probably, not sure who it should have been. Probably Michael Douglas, just because he's the oldest in the group. I'm not sure how you can keep bringing him back, but it would have been nice to see someone make a sacrifice or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be mean, but I think I said this before in the previous part of this podcast, that if you actually would have seen King kill Lassie, or not Lassie, but Canny, or the girl,
Cassie,
and like, do the whole time thing like Thanos did with undoing time and going back and forth and just showing her die multiple times. It would have been really dark, but it would have been like, okay, this is how powerful I am, and I could do this all day. And you're like, oh wow, that's scary. But he just said it. Yeah, but seeing that would have been really hard to see, but it would have really been impactful.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that would have been the way to go. I think it would have been.
Yeah, I guess maybe they wimped out and didn't try to, be stronger and have some people killed off. I mean, if Ant-Man would have died, Cassie would have been the new Ant-Man and have a reason to avenge, her father. And, it's just all these different kinds of ways you could play it out in your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, you could write out some of the characters to make it easier, not have everybody there. So
they could have gone with less. I mean, it's always easy to Monday morning quarterback it, but I guess Marvel is their own worst enemy in that they've set such a high standard for the last decade. There aren't that many misses. Even the ones that aren't the best aren't bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I see some people putting this at the bottom of all the Marvel movies, and I'm like, that's a little harsh for me. It's not in the. I don't even know if it's in my bottom 5. Probably not.
I mean, I would have liked more ants. I was happy that there was ants. I was worried that they're not going to have ants in the movie.
Yeah, that part was pretty cool. They just come through. They basically saved the day, right?
Yeah.
Without them, it's over.
But then
it was good.
They're supposed to be super smart, but they don't do anything super smart besides have tech on them.
Right, they don't at all.
They're like Borg ants, but they're not actually Borg. They're just
Yeah,
you know,
because he wasn't controlling them, right? He could just communicate with them.
yeah, just communicating. So
Okay, yeah.
before he was controlling them, but now they're equals or whatever. But they want to fight him, and that was kind of underdone too. It's like, okay, cool. I appreciate that they kind of explained it, but why didn't the ants just tear him apart? They have pinchers.
Yeah, right.
All right, man.
Yeah, I mean, and it was a short movie. I think it was only 2 hours, right? So it wasn't like it was stretched out. Although you could feel the length. At moments it felt slow, but
yeah, and there's multiple endings that kind of piss me off. It's like, okay, it just tone shifts was a big thing for me, where it's like super dark and then super funny, and
Well, and the other thing, like, why? So they were building up at the first third, I guess, for Michelle Pfeiffer. That she knew this guy. They're going to go see him. All this stuff. Wondering who's. Then it's Bill Murray. So it kind of loses its it kind of loses its tenseness as soon as you see him. Then you find out, oh, she had this relationship with him. She was sleeping with him, all this stuff, and it just goes nowhere. And he dies. He's gone.
Yeah.
Like, why get Bill Murray for that little bit of a scene? I'm not sure why you wouldn't try to use him more, unless that's all he would do.
And then he still looks human, just different dress, and okay.
Yeah, right.
I guess Bill Murray doesn't want to have all this makeup or whatever prosthetics, but still,
No, yeah, you would. I mean, if you're going to come back to do Ghostbusters Afterlife, you think you'd be willing to put more time into the Marvel movie. So, I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right, man. Anything else you want to say, or you're good?
No, I'm good. I appreciate the time to be able to talk about it. Hopefully people will go out and give it a try. Like you said, I think it's worth going to see. Hopefully it'll have a bigger impact on future Marvel. Yeah, give it a try.
All right, bye.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more.
Morbin time can happen anytime.
Before this podcast wraps up, I want to thank my patrons. Thank you, Kano3D, MK Ultra, Kevin Winter, Alex Folk, and Gravity Head Zero for your financial support on Patreon.com. You can find 3D or 2D on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, and more. Just look for 3D or 2D. Thank you for either listening or watching this podcast. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
But wait, there's more.
Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down.